So, should we bring in the closer?
I think it'd be a good time for that.
All right.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 58 of the Free Baseball Podcast presented by the Athletes Hub. As always, I am Davis Bird, and I am joined by my wonderful co-host, the co-hostess with the co-mostest, is
sir.
Jake Crumpler. We're going to do sort of like a month in review, talk about some stuff that's been happening in baseball today, since it's April 30th, and it is going to be the last day of the month, I think. I'm bad with the days of the month. It is the last day of the month, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not a complete dummy. As hard as Jake tries to make me out to be on this podcast, but
Okay. You're doing that your own.
that's what
by
I'm
yourself.
saying. Yeah, but you pointed out. Yeah. So it's the episode number 58. As always, though, we're going to talk with some hot weeks first. And no hitter has had a hotter week than Brandon Drury, who has had 31 plate appearances since last Saturday, which is the 22nd. He's hitting .393 with .452 on base percentage. Slugging .964, scored 8 runs, 4 dingers in that time, 12 RBI, and he has accumulated .8 FWAR, building off of that pretty strong last year and showing that so far he's at least worth the money the Angels are paying him.
Yeah, it was definitely a slow start for Drury, and I think that was somewhat expected from most people, right? Because he had such like a big breakout season last year that I don't think anybody was like, oh yeah, Drury's going to do it again, especially after he slowed down when he went to San Diego. But it just seems like everything that he built on last year is sort of disappeared. You know, he's not like barreling the ball as much as he was doing last year. One of the big things he did last year was really improve his plate discipline. So he was like walking more than ever and striking out less than ever. And now he's striking out more than ever and not walking that much. He's at 5% walk rate and 30% strikeout rate. That's not going to do it. So hopefully this is just the start of a prolonged hot stretch, right? So just like getting back to what he was doing last year and not just a hot week that doesn't carry over into future success.
Yeah, I feel like at least my thoughts just on the matter for Drury is it feels like the start was more or less fueled by like probably the bit of pressure on him. They obviously did, give him a relatively decent contract because he's pretty much just been kind of a role player utility guy for a lot of teams.
Mm-hmm.
And then he breaks out last year, signs for big money, relatively big money, at least with the Angels. And now it's like, okay, you're expected to produce a little bit. And I feel like there's kind of the trying way too hard. Like you said, he's striking out more than ever. And it's still like, I think he's in like the 30s where he's typically like around like a 21 to 22% strikeout guy. The walk percent has gone up, but I think it's very funny that this .8 FWAR for the week actually gets him back into the positives. And he has .4 FWAR, for the season.
Fire.
So, just the 2.6 to go to match last year. But yeah, I mean, hopefully he doesn't suck because I think we both want the Angels. Well, I sort of want the Angels to be around the playoff picture because of the last podcast where I think they'll trade Ohtani to the Cubs. But and I would love to see the Angels actually compete and not be terrible for once.
Yeah, definitely. I think everybody wants that.
Yeah, and I know one pitcher right here that probably does not want to see Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani and company in the playoffs. And it's Kevin Gausman of the Toronto Blue Jays. He had a pretty strong week, two starts, one against the Yankees and one against the Mariners. Went 7 innings against the Yankees on the 23rd, gave up 3 hits, no earned, no walks, and 11 Ks. Generated 17 whiffs, which is good for a 31% called strikes plus whiff percentage. Did you see the broadcast the other day where they were talking about called strikes plus whiff percentage?
No.
Pollock tweeted about it.
Did he?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't see it, so you're gonna have to tell me.
It was like the only podcast I've seen in a long time where they've actually, or not podcast, broadcast, where they've actually talked about called strikes plus whiff percentage. But since you were the big stat man, explain just very briefly what called strikes plus whiff percentage is.
It's exactly what you said it is. It's measuring the number, it's measuring the percentage of a pitcher's pitches that go for called strikes or swinging strikes. And it's a very good measure of how good a pitcher is. And it's used in wide variety of manners. Like the it's so good because you can use it on a per pitch basis or as like an overall basis. You can use it as on a per start basis, or you can use it on like the whole season. So it's just got tons of applications, and I think that's what makes it so good. And it's it's a good at predicting future success as well.
Yeah, there are some weird like little caveats that I was unaware about this until I actually listened to this broadcast, and it was the Apple TV broadcast. It was the Phillies and Astros. But it's specifically called strikes plus whiffs that would be in the strike zone. So whiffs obviously outside the strike zone, called strikes, everything else like that, but it's specifically in zone. And Nick Pollack, which is the founder of Pitcher List, where Jake also works, created that stat. So it's pretty cool that we get to use it. But 31% is very much in like the really good category. And he followed that up with a really good start against the Mariners on the 29th. He went 7 innings again. Gave up 6 hits, no earned, 1 walk this time, 13 Ks, 28 whiffs, which is good for a 41% called strikes plus whiffs percentage, which is very much in the elite range. Gausman is still just nails. He had one real bad blow up start against the Astros, and he's been almost immaculate since then.
Yeah, he had back-to-back bangers last week, which was very sick to see because he really struggled with like BABIP luck last year.
Yeah,
where just the difference between his ERA and his expected ERAs was pretty massive, and it was due to just poor BABIP luck, and that seems to be coming around now. The big thing for Gausman is his splitter, and that splitter was going off in these starts. I'm pretty sure he had 20 whiffs on the splitter alone in that start versus the Mariners, which that is wild. 20 whiffs on a single pitch is crazy. He was going basically 2-pitch in that one, and his velocity was up as well. So that was really cool to see. Splitters are inherently inconsistent, but Gausman's got the best one in the game, and it's consistent from start to start, and it just carries him. And it's great to see him having a season like this, and he's definitely going to be in the front running for AL Cy Young, but it may be difficult to beat Shohei with how he's pitching.
Absolutely. And then our players of the week from the AL side are Adolis Garcia of the Texas Rangers. And on the NL side, it is current NL home run leader Max Muncy of the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Yeah. Adolis had one game where he had 5 extra base hits. And I think he was like the first AL player with 3 home runs and 2 doubles in a game. So that was pretty crazy. I think only 14 players ever have had 5 extra base hits in a game. So that was a huge game from Adolis. And when I was talking about him on the weekend podcast I do over at Pitcher List called First Pitch Podcast, I was mentioning that he was looking a lot better in terms of like plate discipline. And I mentioned that a lot in April because walk and strikeout rate are some of the quickest stabilizing stats. So they become meaningful in a smaller sample size than most other stats. And so far it's remaining true that he is looking like a guy that's got pretty solid plate discipline metrics. And that's sort of been what's held him back in the past. He was like 31% strikeout rate with a 5% walk rate in 2021. And then in 2022, he was like 6% walk and 28% strikeout rate. Nothing great, but now he's down to 22.8% K rate and 7% walk rate. So that's career bests in both of those. And that seems like it's helping him make more contact. So I think his average ceiling should be higher, giving him more chances on base to steal, and it's helping him belt some home runs. That 3 home run game was pretty impressive.
Yeah, he had I think he had 3. They had it on Fangraphs. So I was literally just looking at it. I think he had 3 home runs, 2 doubles. He had 8 RBI in that game, and then he scored 2 additional runs on top of that, which is just wild. He's actually the 3rd Ranger to ever have 30 RBIs by the end of April. And that was Juan Gonzalez in 1998 and Josh Hamilton in 2008. Both ended up leading the AL in RBIs that season when that happened. And he's just the 3rd player also in baseball to have 30 RBI through April in the last decade. So, and that joins Jose Abreu and Didi Gregorius. So pretty strong month. This one was actually sort of a surprise to me because the Rangers have been insanely good just as a team, but they haven't been talking about like individuals from the lineup as much. It's always like been, oh yeah, DeGrom and like their rotation kind of carrying the freight, and their lineup has been dynamite so far. They're really good. And Adolis Garcia is leading the pack.
Yeah. And Max Muncy just looking like old Max Muncy again. Last year he was recovering from Tommy John surgery, and I was sort of off him in terms of fantasy, in terms of fandom. Obviously, Dodgers don't like Max Muncy. I'm on Mad Bum's side there. Go get your own ball out of the water, Max. Anyway, yeah, he was going off. He's looking like he's fully recovered from the. I think he didn't get Tommy John surgery. He just had a UCL injury, and he just sort of played through it last year, and he sucked. And somehow had a above average WRC plus, but he batted under 200, which is wild. He did have 69 runs and 69 RBI. Nice. But now he's up to 11 home runs already this year. So we'll talk about him later in terms of league leaders. But this past week, he was going off, or I guess it wasn't this past week. It was the week before that, because these came out, I think, last Monday. So just under a week ago. And yeah, I guess Max Muncy's back, walking more than ever. His strikeout rate's higher than ever. But I think with the way he's hitting the ball right now, I think that Dodgers can deal with it.
Oh, yeah. He's still one of the best players in like baseball in barrels. And he just hits the ball hard. And it's kind of been, when Max Muncy's healthy, that's just what Max Muncy does. He just hits the ball hard. But yeah, it's good to see him. It's good to see him personally return to form, but bad to see him return to form, because that means that the Dodgers will still probably be good. And nobody except Dodgers fans want that to happen. So
yeah,
good with the bad. A lot of good, though, on this next one, and it's the Pirates. We get to talk about the Pirates do something completely unheard of in their neck of the woods, and they extended their star, Brian Reynolds, 7 years, $100 million. He gets a $20 million option, his club option, in 2031, a $2 million buyout. The Pirates have finally put an end to the saga with Brian Reynolds, put the Bob Nutting meme up on there. Bob Nutting is still laughing because this feels like an underpay, but they still got Brian Reynolds for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. It's very surprising from Bob Nutting. I loved the tweet I sent to you where it was just like someone stole Bob Nutting's credit card and just like extended all the players. But yeah, it does feel like an underpay for like 7 years, 100 million. We're talking, what is that per year? Like less than 20.
Neither of us are math guys.
Yeah, less than 20. 7 times.
It's 14. About a little over 14.
Dang. Yeah, that is cheap. Especially because I think he was set to be a free agent.
I think it was next year.
I think it was after next year.
Yeah, but I mean like after next year, not this upcoming off season.
It's like 24, 25 off season. So yeah, I mean, I would have expected him to get well over $100 million then. He's been, I think, a very underrated player where he's like a pretty average fielder, but you know, he can provide power, he can provide some speed. I think he's just like a great hitter in general. He had a 125 WRC plus last year in a down year, and before that it was 141, and this year he's at 138. So I think he's one of the more underrated outfielders in baseball, and to get a below market deal, you know, it's somewhat on brand for the Pirates. But yeah, good to see them finally dole out some money, and Brian Reynolds completely deserves them. I'm surprised he even wanted to stay there after being like, get me the F out of here. But yeah, pretty cool to see him get his payday, and he's been sort of going off this year, and I'm excited to see if he can continue that. He's up to 5 home runs and 5 steals now while batting .313.
He was also in that short list of barrels leaders that I think as of a couple days ago, he was leading all of baseball in barrels. And since he signed that extension, I believe that was 4 days ago, since he signed that extension, he's gone 7 for 16. He's got 5 RBI, 3 doubles, and walked twice. And he's hitting like 440. So I think they got him on that one. Pirates off to a hot start, probably helped convince him like, hey, you know, maybe they won't be a complete dumpster fire for the foreseeable future, and I can actually play meaningful baseball here, because previously he was not doing that in the slightest. So yeah, I think the Pirates got a good deal on this one, and good for them. Good for them. Although I'm a fan of a rival team, I like the Pirates. I think they're a fun little team, and always got the good vibes when they're good. So hopefully they can continue to be good.
Yep. It's crazy how good they are this year. I wish they had O'Neal Cruz, because it would feel like they actually have a chance.
Oh, yeah. Well, look, man, don't sleep on Rodolfo Castro. He's holding it down. Everyone's
me when you talk about Rodolfo Castro. Yeah,
didn't you have him in fantasy for like 2 days and then you threw him in the garbage?
I may have.
Unbelievable hating from Jake
considered him as a streamer. Yeah, I don't know. He's just I don't know what I think about him yet.
He plays baseball.
He is one of the guys that play baseball, I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah, got that one unlocked. Fun thing to talk about though. Got the Mexico series. We have the San Francisco Giants and the San Diego Padres out in Mexico City playing in what will basically amount to super cores. And the numbers are kind of falling in line with that, pretty much making this just a home run off. So,
home run derby.
Pretty fun.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch the game yesterday. I've had a lot going on this weekend, as always. But yeah, definitely a home run derby there. It's sort of what I expected, with the weather being pretty hot right now in this neck of the woods in California and Mexico right now. It's we got a heat wave coming through, and the elevation there is crazy. So like we knew there was going to be some balls flying. Do you want to guess how many home runs they hit?
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Let's go 5.
You're not even halfway there. 11. They hit 11 home runs. Brandon Crawford hit one 480
That's
feet.
right.
You had mentioned before the podcast that was the longest home run by a Giant in the StatCast era. Wild. Yeah, the ball absolutely flies there. 11 home runs is ridiculous. The score was 16-11. Sounds like doesn't sound like a football score, but it's up there.
Close enough.
Yeah, close enough for sure. And right now there are 6-4 today, but they've hit one. Oh, I haven't hit too many home runs today. They've hit 1, 2, 3, 4 home runs today.
They're getting the dead ball today.
Yeah, I mean, on average, that's a lot of home runs. It's a lot of freaking home runs. It's like 7 on average, 7.5, which is not something you generally see. So definitely fun. I love that when they do these. I don't know why they call it the World Tour. Have they always called it World Tour?
I feel like they haven't, and I also hate it. I genuinely would just rather it just be called like the Mexico Series.
Yeah, I mean they are calling it that, but it's like part of the MLB World Tour.
Don't call it that shit though. Just be like, oh yeah, this is the Mexico Series.
Yeah, I just think it's weird. One of my housemates who doesn't really know stuff about baseball, he was just like, so like, what is this MLB World Tour? Like, I just heard about it yesterday, and I was just like, I don't know. I didn't know they were calling it that. I don't know why they're calling it that. It's sort of just like they sometimes play in different countries. Like, World Tour, you guys play 2 series, one in England and one in Mexico. Wow, what a World Tour. Imagine if a band was like, we're doing a World Tour. We're doing all these shows in the United States, and then we're playing 3 shows in Mexico and 3 shows in England. Like, come on down to the World Tour. The people would be like, bro, shut up. That is not a World Tour. That is
theoretically
playing a couple shows.
Theoretically, by their standards, if it's not in America, then every single Toronto Blue Jays game at home Tour should be part of the World Tour.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they're getting spoiled, so you got to put it somewhere else. Make the Blue Jays start playing somewhere else.
The statues they had around Mexico were ridiculous, though.
They were awesome.
Beautiful statue of Juan Soto outside the stadium in Mexico City, and they had ones of the Giants players just like all around. These are just a couple of them. They had countless numbers of them. That is somehow supposed to be Mitch Haniger, and that is Brandon Crawford, 480-foot home run hitter. That doesn't look like Brandon Crawford. Looks like Rowdy Tellez, but these were great. I think that sort of made it all. They're really funny to me.
Jake got mad at me because I said the one that looks like Thairo Estrada actually kind of looks like Thairo Estrada.
I wasn't actually mad at you. I just like saying people are racist.
Jake was hating on me.
It was the closest one because Thairo Estrada just looks like a generic bobblehead.
He's just the most generic looking dude in the world. So it's like, oh yeah. That guy's got a beard. Thairo's got a beard.
Right. Yeah. So these were really funny. I mean, that one looks like Mr. Potato Head.
I don't even know what that one is supposed to look like.
Juan Soto.
Well, I know, but not really. I'm wondering with the statues if they're actual jerseys or if they're part of the statue. Because they look so baggy and weird.
The whole thing is very weird. And I get that it's like probably not supposed to be super realistic. Like it's like an artist's rendition of like bobblehead statue baseball player, but they are scary. They're like Cristiano Ronaldo bust level of scary.
Art's subjective, Jake. Don't be rude.
Yeah,
They will probably work
and my
really
subjective
hard on this.
opinion
is
that these are yes.
yeah. Art is
Yeah.
subjective, and these are ass. So
Yeah.
moving on. Moving on. Speaking of something that is ass, we're going to talk about the Chicago White Sox because they are horrible, and I don't think there's any end in sight to how horrible they're going to be this year. Jake obviously wearing it. The whole thing kind of got spurred on because I don't know if anyone listening had been on like Twitter recently or TikTok, because there was this rant from a White Sox fan that kind of went viral, where he was just ranting about how bad the White Sox have been the last like 25 years. And it was epic. It was an epic rant. Like it's a full 5-minute long rant, and they let him get his money's worth, never interrupted him, nothing.
Yeah.
On this like some radio show. And it was spectacular, talking about how bad the White Sox are. And he's completely and totally right.
They're terrible.
They're terrible. They currently, I don't know the result of today, but
they won. They had like a big comeback against the Rays.
But so going into the day, they were tied at the bottom of the division with the Royals. They are now 1 game ahead of the Royals and sitting at 8-21. They had lost 9 straight before today.
Yeah, 1-9 in their last 10. Pretty good. Not good, especially for a team that I think many expect to be like vying for division champion.
Yeah.
And, they spent a lot of, I don't want to say a lot. They spent some money this offseason on Benintendi, but they just had so many injuries and underperformances. The guy in the rant was pretty good. He got everything pretty spot on. But I think the biggest thing is, I think this is another example of a cheap owner.
I think this is an example of a cheap owner, but the thing is, it's Jerry Reinsdorf, and Jerry Reinsdorf has no reason to be a cheap owner.
Yeah,
because he also owns the Bulls.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, he's got money. He owns both teams,
and he's owned the Bulls for like 30 plus years. So he's obviously got a ton of money.
To be fair, the Bulls have been pretty terrible consistently.
I doubt he's putting as much money in there that he's not making money back.
Well, like a large chunk of one of the funniest things about the rant was the guy also slammed Jerry Reinsdorf for the Bulls. He was like, Reinsdorf would be like, the same thing would be happening with the Bulls if he hadn't somehow lucked into Michael Jordan like at number 3. Yeah. So but yeah, the White Sox are terrible. They had a whole issue yesterday. They were no-hitting the Rays going into the 7th and ended up starting that inning with a no-hitter intact and ending that inning down 10-3.
It was pretty crazy.
Luis Robert ended up getting pulled from the game because he jogged to first base on a swinging bunt and a very beatable ball. Yeah, I could have beat that out.
The thing is, if he had just like taken one step faster, he would have had it. He just like pulled up at the end, like
he just didn't care.
Didn't even have the ball. Yeah,
and his excuse was that because he hustled so hard the previous day, his hamstring was tight. And I don't know if he's bullshitting. I don't know if like just to try to get the media off his back about it. I don't know what's going on with him. But if he's supposed to be your star in the same caliber as like a Mike Trout, because that was the comparison everyone started to make with him. It's like, oh yeah, he could be like Mike Trout. This is the guy you got, and this is the team you have, where their rotation is kind of getting trashed outside of Giolito, who's still just kind of average. But like Clevenger, what?
They need Tony La Russa back, baby.
They do.
Get Tony back.
See, the thing is, like, a lot of people would be like, oh yeah, Tony La Russa is the problem. Tony La Russa probably was a problem, but I feel like the problems with the White Sox go a lot deeper. They're just terrible. Their farm system's bad. They've called up all of the ones that are good. They've like Luis Robert, like Tim Anderson, and now of course they're dealing with injuries, so there is that. Mm-hmm. But I really just feel like they're in such a hole right now that they're probably done. I think their season's probably done. I really I don't think they're better than Twins. I said that before the start of the year when we did our predictions article. I don't think they're better than the Guardians. They definitely should be better than the Tigers. They definitely should be better than the Royals, and they're complete garbage. Yeah. And I just don't know. I don't know what the White Sox have to go from here, because like, isn't Tim Anderson a free agent after this year? Is that really a guy you want to spend a lot of money on? Would the White Sox even spend the money, because their biggest signing ever is is Andrew Benintendi, correct?
Yeah, and that was 85 million.
5 years, $85 million or something like that. Was it 5
That's
or
what
6?
I'm saying. They're so cheap. This should be a team that has a lot of depth. They spend a lot of money. Like they got a storied franchise with an owner that has a lot of money. I don't know why they wouldn't be at that point. Let's see. Who's gonna be a free agent?
But like their rotation is getting waxed. They spent money on Mike Clevenger, who's a terrible person and this year been a terrible baseball player. Lance Lynn is getting his ass kicked. Dylan Cease is kind of regressing. He's gotten a little unlucky too, but he's also he's starting to get punished more now for walking everybody. He's still walking like I think his walks per 9 is still over 3, which is not good. Like he still strikes out a lot of guys, but he's striking out less. He's walking more and he's getting punished more. Like he's not leaving men on base as much.
Yeah. So looks like right now Yasmani Grandal, Elvis Andrus, and Hanser Alberto, Lucas Giolito, and Reynaldo Lopez are set to be free agents.
When's Tim up? Is it after
Tim's got a club option. Mike Clevenger has a mutual option, so he'll be gone. But yeah, they still got one more year of TEA. They're losing some big guys, and if they don't dole out the money, you're gonna be looking pretty bad.
Yep. They already are.
At least they got this guy.
Yeah.
I've been commissioning memes to our local meme creator, Troy Leaf, who runs the account at Deep Fried MLB on both Twitter and Instagram. He's our new sponsor for our memes. He's not paying us anything, but I will support him because he's paying us in memes. That's how he's paying us.
Yeah.
We've got this one, Andrew Vaughn as Wallace and Gromit. I think everybody knows that he looks like Wallace. So I really like this one.
I like that one too.
Hit a home run today, so I got to send this one in the chat.
My man. But yeah, we could talk about how bad the White Sox are forever. We're going to talk
we'll have the whole season to do that.
Oh, yeah, we're going to. We'll check back in. They're going to be so bad, they're going to be the new Rockies.
That would be hard to do.
Yes, it would. But
I was talking to a guy yesterday at an event at my house, and he's like talking about how he's an Angels fan. And I just already feel bad for him, and then he's just like, yeah. And then I went to college in Colorado, so I'm a Rockies fan. I was like, oh man, that's crazy.
He can't win for losing.
Right?
Yeah. Did you try to talk him out of it?
I don't know. Rockies games are fun, but
their stadium's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of things that are bad / maybe good, depending on your opinion, there are 2 new City Connect uniforms that we have to place somewhere in our rankings. We're going to start with the Rangers.
Bang.
They're gas. I really like them. Jake already says he hates them.
Well, I don't know if I still hate them. I think when I first saw them, I didn't know they were City Connect uniforms. I'd somehow missed it, and so I just saw them wearing these on the field.
And I thought they were a big deal about the announcement. It was just kind of like, oh yeah, they just are wearing them one day.
Yeah, I thought they were throwbacks, and I was just like, what the heck are those? What are they wearing? Now I've taken some time. I sort of like the simplicity. I think they're different, which I think is good. I think that's what we've wanted from all these City Connect uniforms, that they're different from either the team's regular uniforms or from generic uniforms, what we think of as uniforms. And I think this does a good job of that. You got the big letters and you got the big numbers, and that's about it. I think what I like the most is that little like griffin or whatever you want to call it. I forget what they were calling it. They were calling it a Peagle on the right sleeve. A Peagle. I think that's from
that's wild.
Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh, a liger.
Yeah, but also a Peagle, which I don't know what the P is. Panther Eagle or something. Yeah. I think that's a cool addition. No idea what it has to do with the Rangers, but I think it looks cool on the sleeve. And it's a pretty just like simple thing. I sort of like the black pants a little bit. And yeah, I think it's just like a simple jersey. It's fine. And I think it'd be middle of the pack for me, to be honest.
I like some of the little details in it. I really love the font of the numbers. I said that before.
Mm-hmm.
The pants, I don't you can't see it from this picture, but I think it's really cool because the striping down it, like the piping, is patterned to look like a rope braid, like bull rope.
Mm, I
That's
didn't even see that.
that's pretty cool. Um, and then on the inside, I think it's on the other side that doesn't have the Peagle or whatever. It has it's like part of a speech from a mayor of Arlington, which is where they play, which I think is really cool. It says "Dream the Big Dream," which was apparently the big slogan for that area because Texas isn't like the Texas Rangers is like Dallas, Arlington, Fort Worth, and like one other is like supposed to be thrown in there. So they had to like kind of make a big amalgamation of all of them. So there's like the City Connect part, because I think the forgotten part of the City Connect is a lot of the teams seem to try to make a jersey that is cool and not one that is cool and also connects to the city. We disagree so much about Boston's, like the Red Sox, for example. Jake doesn't like doesn't like Boston's, but I like it
because it's ugly.
It's sort of ugly, but it is the literal best at the City Connect part.
Sure.
Like it is the actual best one at connecting with the city. And I like that this one does the little things with the city. Like some of them have been kind of bad at that, where it's like Kansas, like the Royals, where it's just like, oh yeah, it's dark and we put a fountain thing on there because Kansas City's like the fountain city or something like that. That's kind of boring. This one, you got all the little things. It apparently connects back with the Peagle to different teams they had, the Fort Worth Panthers and the I don't know the other one, Dallas Eagles or something like that. So
there you go. That's the Peagle.
Yeah, so they combined them and they put their two teams together. Plus, they look cool. I really like the pants, and I really like the black on like the off white. It's kind of like I don't know about you, but it sort of gives like a gunslingery sort of vibe for me, and I think that's pretty lit.
Yeah, I see it. Just with the sort of just the off white top, black pants.
Yeah, I like that. It gives kind of like a gunslingery vibe for me. I like it. The players they have it on too, like the ones that they've had all the promotional pictures for, like obviously see DeGrom, Simeon.
Adolis looks great.
Adolis looks really awesome. John Gray looks sick in these.
Yeah.
Because he's got the beard and he's tall and like physically imposing wearing these.
Looks like a cowboy.
Yes, those are sick. I really like those.
Sure. All right. How about the other one?
And then the other one that's been released is obviously the Mariners. And I like things about this, and I really hate things about this. I'll let you start.
Yeah, well, I'm a huge fan of the Trident logo for the hat.
Yeah,
that's
same.
that's the Mariners hat I have. I've always been a fan of that logo, and I like the colors. It's a little simple, right? It sort of seems like you can imagine them wearing that Seattle jersey at some point in the tenure of the franchise. But I sort of like how simple it is. It's the lowercase is interesting as well. Do like that color blue. It looks nice. And I don't know. I think everybody else says this would be great if it had white pants. And I just think then it would just look like just an alternate uniform, not like a City Connect. I don't know why they chose the black pants, but I sort of like them. I mess with that a little bit. You said it's sort of like Pirates pants, but I don't know. I like it. Julio looks good. I think what I like about it is that it's different. That's sort of what I've liked so far in most of the City Connect uniforms, that not only are they different, I already said this, different from the team's regular uniforms, but also different from what we think as conventional uniforms. So I think that this looks good. I think Julio obviously is going to look good in any uniform. So maybe that's changing my decision a little bit, but I think this isn't crazy. I think this is sort of middle of the pack as well. Sort of just like around like Brewers range, they sort of have similar ones, right? Sort of in like this. Yeah. They look very similar in that kind of range. Those have ugly hats though. So
the hat completely destroys those. I really like the hat. I like the font on the jersey too, in the color scheme, because it's not only the scheme of the Mariners right when they first came into existence,
Pilots?
but it was the Pilots color scheme, and then it was also the Mariners original color scheme. Okay. Remember when it was the white, or the white, blue, and gold? I would like these so much more if they had white pants. But then I also feel like if they had the white pants, they would look a little bit too Brewersy.
Yeah, or just generic,
Yeah, or generic. They're fine. I mean, I don't love them. I think the Trident hat, when you see them like with the helmets and stuff, with the Trident home run celebration, that's going to be pretty cool. I think that's going to be like a nice little imagery there. They're fine. I don't like them as much as the Rangers for sure.
Yeah. So since we have time, should we crap on the Dodgers a little more?
Yeah, the Dodgers is the worst one still.
I was talking with
even more so, if you look in the background, you can also see this wonderful little mural, and the mural looks awesome, except for just how dirty they did Clayton Kershaw.
I was talking with Troy, the guy who makes the memes for us. He was talking about how terrible this one was too, because I was just like, the blue on blue is just so bad, and they already have this Los Dodgers uniform. And then I was just like talking about how bad like that all was. I totally forgot they have that ugly hat that also says Los Dodgers. Like they've stopped wearing it because they know how gross it is. They just wear the regular LA. Yeah, so it's just still one of the worst, and I'm so glad it's the Dodgers. It could have been any other team, but it just makes it so much better that it's the Dodgers. But yeah, that's we got 2 new City Connect jerseys. I'm not sure who's coming out next. Do you have any idea?
No, let me look it up.
Yeah,
do these crack your top 3?
No,
any of these?
Neither.
Okay. What is your top 3 of the City Connects?
I think right now I'm still going Marlins in the top 3.
Okay.
Honestly, Padres. Didn't like that one when it first came out, but now I love that one.
Those are gas. I like those.
And I think the other one, no, not
Angels.
I've been liking the Angels one because I do have the Shohei jersey too. In the Angels ones, and they do just look so clean, and they're just like slightly different. Yeah, honestly, I love the Angels ones. I think it's like between Angels and Rockies. I sort of like the Rockies one. It just looks like a uniform. You know what I mean? It just seems like it's just part of the team now.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think. Well, I don't know.
I know you don't. You don't. Not often.
I hate Jake. I genuinely think the Rangers are number 3 for me. I think they're my third favorite.
Who's the other 2?
Washington.
The Washington ones are solid.
I really like Washington. Washington's is one of my favorites still because not only is it like an insanely unique color scheme for it with like the slate gray and the pink, you also don't get to see all the detail in the jersey from those pictures like up close. Like they're really cool. They fit the City Connect vibe so much. Boston's still my favorite. Boston is still my favorite City Connect.
That's crazy. Yes, I found the schedule. We'll get 3 more this year to get us to 20. So we'll probably have, I doubt we'll have 10 next year, but the next 3. Go ahead.
Have the Braves debuted theirs yet? It said have they worn them in?
Yeah. I've seen them wear them.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have the Reds are up next, then the Orioles, and then raise it, the Pirates.
The Pirates are going to be so sick.
I really, really hope so, because they could do something either just like in terms of connecting to the city or connecting to like the history of the franchise, or just doing some crazy pirate stuff.
I want to see
pirate themed.
I want to see for the Pirates like a big throwback to like the Negro Leagues with Josh Gibson, where I'm honestly struggling to remember the name of the team, but I think it was the Pittsburgh like Barons or something like that.
No idea.
But because the Pirates always do, have you seen the bit where every year they do the Negro League game?
Yeah.
with the jerseys. I would like to see something like that. He played for the Homestead Grays and the Pittsburgh Crawfords. Excuse me. I would like to see something like that, or a throwback to the We Are Family Pirates, because that would also be really sick.
That's what I was thinking. Let's get some sick hats, please.
I think the Orioles one is going to be awesome, especially if they go for a combination of stuff from Baltimore and from Maryland, because have you seen like the University of Maryland jerseys? All of theirs are super sick because they base it off the flag, and it's got Maryland's got the crazy flag with all the stuff on it.
No, I don't.
Find a picture of the flag and put it in the pod. Maryland's state flag is really cool.
Okay, yeah, yellow and black checkers, and then red and white. I don't know what that is.
The Orioles, it's like a cross or something. The Orioles in the minor leagues, one of their teams, I think it's like their rookie affiliate or like their high A affiliate, have Orioles jerseys that literally just have the sleeves turned into the Maryland flag. I would like to see something like that. That would be really, really cool. I think that's going to be an underrated one. And then Cincy's are going to suck. And they'll probably do something with like Skyline Chili or something.
Chili colored.
That one would be my guess for them. So terrible. That's enough of the City Connect jerseys for now, though. We will check back in, and we'll eventually, once all of them this year have been released, we'll update our tier list. We'll put the big tier maker on the screen or something like that.
Yeah, that'll be a couple of years from now.
Well, we can do an update at the end of the year after the last one, like when the Pirates release it.
Sure.
And we can go to the April month in review, where we'll review all the league leaders, division check-in, and we'll try to make our predictions for our players of the month.
Yes.
So we can start really quick with the league leaders in batting average, and it's we already know the answer to one of them because it's super easy. But the AL batting average leader is Matt Chapman, obviously the Toronto Blue Jays, who's cooled off a little bit, but he's still red hot. And then the NL foregone conclusion, Luis Arias.
Yeah. Crazy good trade for the Marlins on that one. Unfortunately, not the rest of the team isn't doing what we hope them to do. But yeah, Arias won the American League batting title last year, and now is hoping to do so in the National League. I don't know what the numbers are on guys that won a batting title in both leagues, but that would definitely be cool if Arias could do that. Intruder. And then Matt Chapman just having a great year. I was confused why he didn't go off last year in his first year in Toronto, and now it's looking like it's finally coming to fruition. So definitely some interesting guys there. I think if Luis Arias makes a run at 400, that would be really fun. But maybe if he could just do so for the first half, that would be, I think, commensurate to whatever Tony Gwynn was doing back in the day.
I think the last person that won a batting title in both leagues was DJ LeMahieu.
Really? Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Because he won one. Did Carew win it in both leagues?
The thing is, when did he play in the National League?
That's what I don't know. He might have. I'm trying to look it up, and it's difficult to find. DJ LeMahieu is actually the only player that has done it in both.
First player in the modern era. Wow, that is not what my guess would be.
He's the only player that's
crazy.
That's ever done it. So Luis Arias
could do that.
He's also currently hitting over 400, so it'd be cool to see another chase towards 400. We talked about that a couple podcasts ago, where it just hasn't happened in a long time, and the races towards like the historical achievements, those are always really cool and cool storylines to check in on. So hopefully we can continue to check in on that, and then we can talk about the hits leader as well, because we're going to have a couple repeat names. The AL hits leaders right now are a pair of teammates. The aforementioned Matt Chapman is joined by Bo Bichette. And then the NL, Luis Arias just joined his contemporary Nico Hoerner. They just played today, and the Marlins beat the Cubs again. So,
yeah, Bo Bichette been a hit machine since he got called up, so that's no surprise. And I think Nico Hoerner's the big surprise there. He's had a huge month of April in our fantasy league. He's like one of the best hitters in all of baseball in terms of our points league. But yeah, pretty crazy to see him doing that. I knew he's like a solid guy, right? He just seems like he's like a solid guy. He seemed more of like a above average role player, right? Than like a big star for a team. But so far, he's just looked incredible and doing his usual thing of not striking out, just making a lot of contact, great fielder, and showing a little bit of power that you wouldn't really expect from somebody with that kind of contact ability. So I've been loving Nico Hoerner doing that. And the Cubs are actually like a really fun team to watch this year.
Yeah, Nico Hoerner is currently on pace right now. It's fun. You talked about him being underrated. He's currently on pace for 7 WAR over the full season, which would be like comfortable all-star territory. Mm-hmm. He's also currently riding an on-base streak of 25 consecutive games. He's just really good, obviously very good defender, but the big thing that he's always kind of done is he puts the ball in play, and he's starting to put the ball in play hard, tapping into his power a little bit, and he's just very good at baseball.
Yeah. What'd you say his on-base streak was?
25 games.
Dang, yeah, and he's stealing like crazy too. He's up to 10 steals, which is second, or I think it's either tied for second or he's third in the National League with those steals. But yeah, he's striking out even less than he did last year. He was like 11% last year. He's now down to 7.3%.
Yeah,
which is fire.
Today, it was actually the first 2 strikeout game for him since the start of the month. So
he struck out 3 times.
Yeah, it was in the middle of the game. So this the first 2 or more strikeout game.
Okay.
He's only struck out like twice in the same game, 1 time since April 8th.
So that'll bump up that strikeout rate because he was really up. Good. He was at 9 strikeouts before today, and now he's going to be at 12. So it's a pretty big jump. But yeah, still incredible. Before 2 days performance, he was at a 125 WRC plus, which is nearly 20 points better than last year. So, and last year he was still a 4 WAR player. So, I mean, at second base, you're not racking up as much WAR as a shortstop, but I think he's looking like one of the more underrated players in baseball, sort of in the same vibe of Luis Arias with more power and more speed.
Oh yeah. I saw an interesting tweet too regarding Nico Hoerner, and it was about the 2018 draft. Obviously, he was supposedly one of the most pro-ready players out of that draft. Have you gone back and looked just how loaded that draft was with MLB players right now?
No. Are you going to ask me a question about it, or should I look it up?
I'll just tell you some names if you want.
Yeah.
You have Nico Hoerner, obviously, Shane McClanahan, Logan Gilbert, Grayson Rodriguez, Stephen Kwan, Jeremy Pena, and Logan Gilbert.
And Alec Boehm and Jonathan India, Jared Kelnick. And you said Gray Rod. Brady Singer, Nolan Gorman. Oh my God.
That draft is loaded.
And somehow the Giants had the second pick and came away with Joey Bart, and the Detroit Tigers had the first pick and got Casey Mize, who just doesn't ever pitch.
Yeah, but cool little things to go back and look at. Hopefully Nico Hoerner can continue this pace, obviously for my own personal gain and for Jake's personal gain in his fantasy league. We can go on to the runs leader. The AL runs leader is a former Blue Jay. It's kind of loaded with these guys. He scored 25 runs on the season, which leads all of baseball. And in the NL, we have a tie, which is Ronald Acuna Jr. and Nick Castellanos, both at 23.
Yeah, Marcus Semien had a really slow start last year, but still finished with 4.2 FWAR. And this year he got off to a slow start, but it didn't extend past the first couple of weeks last year. It was like a full month. So it's great to see him get going right away. I think he's going to have another big season, and he's really, since turning 28, he's had a really great time in the majors, and it's been fun to watch. Good money well spent for the Rangers.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And then on the NL side, of course, Ronald Acuna Jr. plays in that super high-powered offense, and then Nick Castellanos also the same thing. Although it does feel sort of like the Phillies' offense hasn't been as good, but because they don't have Bryce Harper, but that's really not the case. They've still been insanely good. Castellanos scoring lots of runs there.
Yeah. Do you know how remember how bad Casty was last year?
Yes, has he already beat his WAR total? Wasn't his WAR total like flat out like 0?
He beat his WAR total by just not playing. He was negative 0.8 last year. But really? What I was going to get to is that, so based off that 23 runs, you'd expect Casty's having a great season, right?
No.
Well, okay.
It's Castellanos.
Yeah, he's batting 324. He's got 4 dingers. He's got a 145 WRC plus. Do you want to guess his BABIP?
It's BABIP. Ooh. If he's hitting that high of an average, it's got to be a high BABIP.
So 413 BABIP. And
wow.
Yeah, so that average is going to come way down.
Of course.
BABIP is probably going to drop 80 to 90 points. And I'm still not super convinced that he's back, but he is barreling the ball recently. So maybe he's getting some of that power back that he lacked last year, hitting 13 home runs. But yeah, I'm not really buying into this too much though from Castellanos.
Yeah, his expected batting average is good, but his exit velocity numbers are not good. Barrel percentage is not where it has been for his career. Yeah, it's definitely going down. Anyway, on to the home run leaders. We talked about Max Muncy. He's the NL home run leader and leader of all baseball with 11 right now. And then the AL, Raffy Big Scoops, Rafael Devers is right behind him with 10.
Yes, he is helping out my fantasy team as well. I mean, he started off really hot last year too, so this sort of seems like an extension of that. But he's just one of the most consistently good hitters in all of baseball. I mean, since he broke out in 2019, excluding 2020, he's been at least a 130 WRC plus every year. Right now, he's at 122, which is probably due to him not walking as much and batting just 240. But exact opposite of Castellanos. This guy's got a 209 BABIP. So the fact that he's already at 10 home runs, things are about to start turning around even further for Devers. So big season incoming. And Max Muncy doing Max Muncy things, just hitting bombs like crazy.
Oh, yeah. And then talk about runs batted in also, because we'll have a couple of repeat names from earlier in the pod. We'll start with RBI leader, leading all of baseball, Adolis Garcia with 30. Which is 5 better than both guys in the NL East, who also lead the NL. It's Pete Alonso and Matt Olson, both with 25.
Mm-hmm. Pete Alonso's looking like he's going to have another 50 home run season at this rate. He's already up to 10, tied for second in baseball. But yeah, I mean, one of the premier home run hitters in all of baseball. And this is a guy that's at this rate, he's a 500 home run hitter for his career. I'm seeing that. Yeah.
He honestly feels very Jim Tomei-esque a lot of the times for me.
That's fair. Yeah, just a big slugger, good hitter, but also like mostly for home runs. Yeah, 600 would be crazy. And Matt Olson be doing Matt Olson things like he always does. Yeah, I mean, hard to not knock in runs when you got Ronald Acuna stealing bases like crazy in front of you all the time.
Yeah, that is very true. And speaking of stolen bases, we can go with that also, which is the AL. And it is Cedric Mullins and Esteury Ruiz, both tied with 11. And then I think Jake was trying to say Ronald Acuna Jr. This is Ronald Cruz Jr. With 13 on the NL side. So this imaginary man Jake has created in his mind, Ronald Cruz Jr., a.k.a. Ronald Acuna Jr. has 13, leading all of baseball.
What happens when you write the rundown when watching the Warriors?
Esteury Ruiz, 11 steals.
Yeah, surprisingly. He actually not surprisingly. I think it's surprising that he's getting on base enough to steal, but he was like he stole like over 80 bases in the minors last year, which was crazy. And so preseason, I was sort of hinting that he could possibly be the guy that leads baseball in steals. Definitely still up for the for that award by the end of the season because he's been stealing like crazy. But Ronald Cruz Jr. is cruising on the bases when he gets there. He's unstoppable. I think he's going for 40-40, 50-50. I feel like he's going to need to pick up the power a little bit. He's got like 4 home runs or something. So yeah, I could definitely see him doing like Ronald doing like I don't know, 25 home run, 50 steal season, just by the way that his stats are going right now. Maybe 60 steals.
Oh my God.
70 maybe.
I bet he could do it if he doesn't get hurt. I bet he could.
Yeah. Well, what's 13 times 6? Sorry. It's 60 plus 18, 78. Yeah. He could do it. He's on pace for almost 80.
Oh, yeah. I think he'll get 75. Probably. He'll get bored.
That would be sick. 25 home run, 75 season. Oh, my God. It would not feel like
ridiculous
baseball anymore. It'd be crazy.
Ridiculous. And we'll talk about the OPS leaders too. Hey, we've talked about this guy a million times already, but the leader in all of baseball and subsequently the AL in OPS is Matt Chapman with a 1.152 OPS. And then surprisingly, NL OPS leader, Brandon Marsh. Brandon Marsh carrying the freight on the Phillies offense. The man with the excellent beard and with the long mane of hair that always somehow looks like it's wet.
Well, it is. That's because it is. He makes it wet on purpose. He likes it like that.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Gross.
Yeah. He's got 4 triples already this season. He had 4 all of last year. But who wasn't surprised by this breakout? Me, because I wrote an article about the Phillies sleepers and busts for this year, and I had him and Bryson Stott labeled as sleepers. So I feel pretty smart
Stott
there. But
also having an insanely good season.
Yeah. So I think the big thing right now for Marsh, other than, getting a weird amount of triples, is his plate discipline. Last year, he was like terrible, never walked, always struck out. And now he still strikes out a lot, but he went from a 0.18 walk to strikeout ratio, which is terrible. And now he's up to 0.44, which is like, let's see, what's the league average? League average is 0.38. So now he's above league average in terms of plate discipline. So that's pretty crazy to go from like well below league average 0.18 to jumping above league average, which is that'll definitely help you bump your OPS. I don't think he's going to be like a league leader in OPS throughout the year, but if he can be like an above average hitter, last year he was an 89 WRC plus with that glove in center field and a pretty solid lineup. I think it's going to be a great season for Brandon Marsh.
He's a full 100 points better on his WRC plus so far this year.
Exactly. Yeah.
189 WRC plus. And I'm assuming you're already looking at his Fangraphs page, but I was going to say you could take a guess at what his BABIP is so far this year. Since we already talked about Castellanos. What do you think
400.
It is? Yeah, it's well over.
Oh my God.
471. Important to think though, Brandon Marsh is a left-handed hitter. And instead of sitting him against lefties like they often did last year, he's hitting against lefties, and he's hitting insanely well against lefties. So far this year against lefties exclusively, he has a 1.148 WRC plus, so he's hitting same-handed pitching very well, which is the hallmark of a hitter that is really developing well. So, he's the only player currently, say at one point he was the only player currently with above a 300 batting average and a 1.150 OPS. He's just really good, obviously former top prospect with the Angels. So, post height is real. Philly's got quite a few guys like that. Stott, Bohm, Marsh, all hitting this year. Continue in the freight. I don't know if you saw the news too, but they could expect Bryce Harper potentially to be added.
I saw that
this week,
and I was like, "What? How is that possible?"
That guy is a Superman.
He's him.
He is. I think they're expecting him to be in on Tuesday, which is crazy. And
Ridiculous.
This lineup probably instantly becomes the best in baseball again. And we'll go ahead and we'll talk about the F4 leaders so far. This guy, same thing. Matt Chapman leading all of baseball in F4, 1.8. And then there's a tie in the NL. Ronald Acuna Jr. talked about him too, 1.7 F4. But he's joined by someone we haven't talked about. And it's Xander Bogaerts, newly acquired San Diego Padre, 1.7 F4.
Yeah, he's been sort of a different hitter in San Diego thus far. I was sort of doubting it based off last year's little bit of a fall off, definitely in the power department, big fall off. But he's always been somewhat of like an aggressive hitter. Swings a lot, but like above average walk rate, didn't strike out a lot, but now he's at another level. He's nearly walking as much as he's striking out. Looks like he's got 15 walks to 16 strikeouts before today. So that's pretty freaking good. And if he's going to do that at age 30, then that 11-year, $280 million contract is going to pay off pretty nicely for both parties.
Oh yeah. And he's also hitting above 300. 311. He's got a 157 WRC plus, and his BABIP is almost exactly the same as his batting average. So that trend will most likely continue. He's just really good. Looks kind of like money well spent. Tatis is back. Padres are starting to hit their stride a little bit. They're just really good. And on to pitcher stats. We can talk about pitcher wins, which of course are a contentious stat with myself and Jake, because I think they're a bad stat. But All of these guys have 5. In the AL, Garrett Cole, Shane McClanahan, and Joe Ryan and Minnesota Twins, all with 5 wins. And then in the NL, reliable Clayton Kershaw, 5 wins.
Yeah, definitely been some of the best pitchers in all of baseball. I'll hit on Joe Ryan since he doesn't come up anymore, and he's been very solid this year. I like what he's been doing for the Twins, and I think if he can continue to develop that splitter as his third pitch, he could be really solid. I think maybe even if he got his slider a little better, his fastball is just so good with that VAA. But yeah, so far he's got a 2.81 ERA across 32 innings, and he's striking out 29% of batters he's faced. He's very, very good, and I think it'll continue through the season. The Twins really have one of the most underrated rotations in baseball right now.
Yeah, Joe Ryan, interestingly to mention, was the first of this group to get to that 5-win point. Also of this group, easily the most handsome. Easily. If X handsome was a stat, Joe Ryan would be in the 101st percentile. Joe Ryan's really good. The Twins pitching rotation is gas. They are just really good. Pablo Lopez, Joe Ryan, Sonny Gray. Is that probably the best 1 through 3 in baseball right now? I think
performance-wise,
yeah, I think it definitely is. They're insane. If their offense would finally not be garbage, then I think the Twins would be one of the top 5 teams in baseball. And you can still even make that argument now. But yeah, Joe Ryan, he's really good. Obviously, McClanahan and Cole, two of the biggest strikeout artists in baseball. And then Clayton Kershaw is still Clayton Kershaw, even if he is a little bit older. He still pitches for the Dodgers. Dodgers are still good, and he's still good. Very effective. So Kershaw, 5 wins, only one in the NL.
Yeah.
And going on to some reliever stats. In the AL, we got 2 guys at 9, and that would be Emmanuel Clase of the Cleveland Guardians and Jordan Romano of the Toronto Blue Jays. Are joined by the current save king, which is Josh Hader with 10 in the NL.
Yeah, Romano's sort of like one of the most consistent closers over the past few years, but I'm sort of scared of what Clase is doing recently. He's just not striking anybody out. He was never a crazy big strikeout guy. He would strike out 28% of guys, 26% of guys over the last 2 years. But right now he's at 13.8%. And I think he's not struck anybody out across his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 appearances, which is somewhat concerning. I think there's something fishy going on there. And Josh Hader, luckily back to what he was doing before last year's second half collapse, which was really weird to see. So it looks like he's back on track with whatever was keeping him from being Josh Hader.
Oh, yeah. Interesting about Jordan Romano. He is currently in the 98th percentile for whiff percentage. And the Blue Jays bullpen as a whole is completely disgusting in terms of getting whiffs. Yesterday, they had a stat. This guy on Twitter, his name is Varsha with a weird kind of cross out O in the middle. Kevin Gausman started. Zach Pop, Jordan Romano, and Eric Swanson pitched in relief. They went 10 innings because it went to extras. 6 hits, 2 walks, and they had 19 strikeouts with that group. 19. They have Swanson, Romano, Yimi Garcia, and Trevor Richards all in the 95th percentile or better for whiff percentage, and then Zach Pop is just slightly behind in the 80s. Their bullpen is just ridiculous, and Romano's a really good closer. Clase, the strikeouts will come. I'm sure they will. A guy that throws that hard and has that nasty stuff is just going to be. It'll come into place. Things kind of haven't been going well for Cleveland in general, so they'll hit a stride and he'll start striking everybody out. It'll catapult up to 80%, something ridiculous for a bit. And then we'll talk about ERA leaders. Talked about this guy as part of that little contingent in Minnesota with Pablo Lopez and Joe Ryan, but Sonny Gray is your ERA leader in all of baseball with a .77 ERA. He's joined in the NL by Justin Steele, pride of Lucedale, Mississippi. You're muted.
Thank you. Sonny Gray definitely not going to keep this up. 3.63 xFIP is a full 3 runs above his current ERA, but either way, I think Sonny Gray is just a solid pitcher. He's been pretty great throughout his career, 3.5 ERA throughout his career. That's probably where he'll settle in around this year. Maybe since he's got off to such a hot start, he'll get it closer to that 3 number. But yeah, love what Sonny Gray's been doing. Always root for him, former Oakland A.
Yeah, I like Sonny Gray. I always felt like he kind of got a rough beat in New York. And I know you talked about, I know you talked about Sonny Gray's ERA will definitely go up. Obviously, it's not going to stay at sub 1 the whole year. His FIP, same thing can probably be said for Justin Steele. As much as I love him, he actually had more of a rough start. And before the day, he was at like a 1.19. Fangraphs hasn't updated it yet. And he's all the way up to 1.4 because he gave up 2 runs to the Marlins, either 2 or 3. But yeah, Steele has been very good so far to start the year. Ks have been down, but he is getting results, and that is what matters. So in that same vein, we can talk about the whip leaders. And one of these will sound familiar, and one of these is going to be a big shock. It's going to be Clayton Kershaw, 0.76 whip in the NL. And then he's joined by absolute stud starting pitcher Tyler Wells of the Baltimore Orioles, a 0.72 whip. If you have never seen Tyler Wells pitch, he is about 8'2". He only throws it about 70 miles an hour, and nobody can ever hit him.
I didn't realize he was that tall. He's 6'8". That's crazy.
He's 6'8". He throws he's 6'8", and he throws 92. He's like Chad Qualls on steroids.
Yeah. He throws 93, but yeah, same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah. Either way, I think a lot of time with these tall guys is they get a lot of extension, which is I'm looking that up right now, and that's sort of extension. Yeah. The thing is, like, for people that don't get that just based off me saying that, if you have a lot of extension, you're closer to the plate, the ball is going to come up on you faster. That sounds crazy. The ball is going to get to the plate faster and it's going to look like it's got a higher velocity. Technically it doesn't, but
33rd percentile extension. So he's doing something, but
yeah, it's only 6 feet. I would expect it to be longer than that. Interesting. Yeah, he's had some pretty easy matchups thus far, so I think that's helped a lot. I know he his first couple were against the Rangers and Yankees, but then he went to the White Sox, Tigers, and Red Sox. And he's been pretty solid, but I guess he's just been doing a good job of not giving away free passes and having some pretty good luck on balls in play. His BABIP is 187, so that's probably is a little bit of why, but. He was a PLV darling, which is one of Pitcher List's new stats. And so that could be the big thing playing into him having this much success is that, Pitcher List really, really loved his stuff.
Right. A big thing with Tyler Wells, too, is he doesn't whip is obviously walks and hits per innings pitched. He doesn't walk anybody at all. So that helps. The mashups have helped too, but he's also only been barreled 5 times through 79 batted balls, which, given the Tigers, the level of competition he's played against, that is probably very fair because they're ass, but it's probably not going to stay that way. But the Orioles, I mean, they've been good at getting guys that are just sort of either middling guys or unknown names and getting pretty valuable innings out of them. Dean Kramer, Tyler Wells, Kyle Gibson's been pretty good, given he's also started against the Tigers several times. They're making do. They're making do with what they got. Tyler Wells is getting it done. And on to strikeouts. We've talked about one of these guys a lot today. Also, we talked about at the start of the podcast, Kevin Gausman, leading all of baseball in strikeouts, got 54. And then another guy we talk about, I feel like every single podcast, the NL strikeout leader is Zach Gallen of the Arizona Diamondbacks. And that guy is just disgusting. Like always.
He's so good,
man. Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah. I feel like that's all you can really say about these 2 guys. They're just really good. And I think they're going to have just great years throughout the full season.
Interestingly enough, Zach Gallen is just missing out on being tied with Kershaw for whip. He is literally 0.1 point off of Kershaw with a 0.77 whip. But Gallen's really good. If you want to go see a whole bunch of red, just go look at his Savant page. He is just disgusting. So but we've talked about them a lot. We continually do talk about them a lot, and we'll continue to talk about them right now because we're going to talk about pitcher F4, Zach Gallen and Garrett Cole, two of the game's most premier strikeout artists, both tied for F4 with 1.7. We said Zach Gallen, really good. Garrett Cole, guess what? Really good.
Yeah, and Fangraphs WAR is FIP-based, so different than what you'll see on Baseball Reference, sort of dramatically. So Sonny Gray is probably way up there on Baseball Reference. But Garrett Cole, super deserving here. He's got a 2.07 FIP, and he's just continuing to hold that title of just the premier ace in all of baseball.
Yeah. All of his other numbers fall in line with that too. Even though he's striking out less guys this year, he's just still very good. And that'll also pick up certainly. But we can check in on the division standings really quick and run down the divisions and kind of give some thoughts on how they're shaping up. I know it's just the first month, but still, where do you want to start?
Let's go AL East through the AL and then same thing.
Right. So leading the AL East, obviously, given their hot start, the Tampa Bay Rays are in first place with a record of 23 wins to 6 losses, all the way languishing at the bottom because they're garbage can bum team are the New York Yankees that are 15 and 14 because it's the most competitive division in probably all of baseball.
Yeah, Rays have the best record in all of baseball, which is pretty crazy. That hot start everybody remembers has sort of carried over. They're clearly looking like the team to be in the AL East right now. It's a very tough division right now. Every single team is above 500. The Red Sox and Yankees are tied in last place at 1 game above 500. So I love how competitive it is. I'm surprised the Orioles are so good at 19-9 because they didn't do really anything this offseason. And it was sort of just like, was that going to be enough to make them good this year? But yeah, so far it has been.
Yeah, they're on a bit of a heater right now too. 8-2 in their last 10. They're from their last 10. They've been the best team in that division. Currently also winning 3 in the worst team based on that. The Yankees are sort of languishing because they're 3-7 in their last 10. They've been struggling a little bit with injury and inconsistency.
Yeah.
And then moving on to the AL Central, that is spearheaded by the mighty Minnesota Twins, and bringing up at 17 and 12, and then bringing up the rear in the division. No longer tied there because the White Sox won today, but the Kansas City Royals are 7 and 22.
This is such a bad division.
Putrid. Yeah, the division is terrible. The only team that has a winning record in it is the Twins.
Yeah, just complete polar opposite of the NL East, where all the teams are above 500, and here it's just like you just have the one, and then the rest are just terrible. So I think the Twins are going to run away with this, and I don't think we'll see any wild card teams here, and it's just going to be sad times in the AL Central.
Yeah, I've expected more out of the Guardians, but they've just been – I don't know what their deal is. They've struggled with some injuries too. They tried calling – especially to their rotation. McKenzie hasn't pitched yet, I don't think.
Well, they got some good reinforcements in Logan Allen and Tanner Bibby.
It's which Logan Allen, because they have 2 of them.
Yeah, right. Logan T. Allen.
And then the AL West, this is also not a very strong division so far. It's just been sort of a weird start, but it is currently spearheaded by the Texas Rangers, who are 17 and 11. And guess who's at the bottom? It's the Oakland A's. They're the worst team in baseball.
No way. Wait, what?
Wow, they won a game, though. They won another game. They're 6 and 23.
Way.
They walked off the Reds today. Esteury Ruiz, RBI single,
still
baby.
The worst team in baseball, and they'll continue to do so. I sent you that video of comparison between the A's broadcast and the MLB.com broadcast, where they were cropping out the sell the team. Yeah, I hate MLB for when they do stuff like that. But yeah, the A's suck. I was an A's fan my whole life, and now I just sort of hate them now that they're gonna be leaving us behind without ever giving us much of anything during my lifetime. But yeah, it's pretty crazy to see the Rangers out on top. Now DeGrom's on the IL. I wonder if they can still keep it up. I think they have a pretty deep team, especially in the rotation, but it's going to be interesting to see if they can hold on as the Astros sort of get going. And I would love to see I'd much rather have the Angels and Mariners be the top 2 teams in that division. But, there's lots to root for in this division, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I'm thrilled with how good the Rangers are, especially given what happened last night with Nathan Eovaldi throwing an absolute gem
Mhm.
um, against the Yankees of all teams. He completely trashed the Yankees last night, so their new de facto ace instead of DeBum, Jacob DeBum, get Nathan Eovaldi in there.
Yep.
He'll carry the load and take them to the promised land. Um, we'll get out of the AL now and stop talking about Nathan Eovaldi and the Oakland Athletics because we'll talk about the A's several more times and they won't be good this year on the podcast. In the NL East, the current leader in the NL East is the Atlanta Braves with a record of 18-9. And then there's no surprise here. Who you would believe would be at the bottom is the Washington Nationals, who are
Mhm.
10-17. And I honestly think 10-17, given just how bereft of talent their roster isn't that bad.
No, yeah, they're somehow pulling through. I think because they have some actual young talent, and they like spun the wheel on a couple of underrated bounce back candidates like Candelario and Dom Smith. So I don't know.
He hit his first
Still the
home run.
Nationals.
I think he hit his first home run in like a calendar year and a half or something like that.
Nice.
Um,
Here's
but that,
we got our final meme for the Braves though.
they made them get rid of the big
I
hat.
know that. That's
That
partially why I
sucks
put that in
so
here.
bad.
New era is terrible. They were just like, hey, that's
Yeah,
not one of our hats. They cannot wear it. It's so stupid.
I hate New
Nobody,
Era.
yeah. But I love this meme. This is another one I commissioned from Troy. We got Wizard of Oz with Ozzy Albies wearing the big hat. This is honestly a perfect one.
Yeah, I like that one.
In my opinion, I love this one.
I like that
Yeah.
one.
So yeah,
Every
go follow Deep Fried MLB on Twitter and Instagram for more of these.
Absolutely. And then in the NL East, there's the only other team that genuinely has, the only team that has a losing record is the Nationals. The Mets are 15-12,
Yeah,
Marlins 16-13, Phillies 15-13.
solid.
And then the NL Central, brace yourself. Leader in the NL Central as of today, Pittsburgh Pirates, baby. 20-9.
That's the best record in the National
20-9.
League. Best record in
Hold,
the National League. Never would
hold
have guessed that.
that.
Yeah.
Hold that, baseball fans.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh Pirates, 20-9. Worst team, trash can, NL Central bums. St. Louis Cardinals are 10-19.
So funny. I was hyping
They're
them
terrible.
up so much in the offseason
They
too.
suck so bad.
It's
Their
so
rotation
funny.
is miserable.
Yeah.
And they can't get anybody out. Their lineup has been fine, but they can't get anybody out, man. They're struggling.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, they're in last. Hopefully it stays that way. That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
The Reds are 3.5 games better than them right now.
Yeah, Cardinals are terrible. And they sent down freaking Jordan Walker. Oh my God. Bro, my freaking fantasy team is getting destroyed. In like back-to-back days, I lose Robbie Ray for the season. I got one start from him and he was awful. And then they put him on the IL, so I'm holding him. And then they just, oh yeah, no, he's done for the season. Great, cool. I got one start. He got me negative points. Great draft pick, number 69 overall. Nice. And then Jordan Walker, who I took in the freaking top 100, he's just gone. They're just like, oh yeah, no, we like bad players on our team. We want Jordan Walker out of here. The man struggled for maybe a week, and now he's gone.
Get that bum out of here.
Yeah, one of the top prospects in all of baseball. It's not like he was bad, and it's not like he didn't just set a freaking record in terms of a hit streak to start his career, and it's not like he can't play multiple positions or like he was bad or anything. It's like freaking trade one of your stupid outfielders. You got so many of them. They're just scared to do the Randy Arozarena again and trade away an outfielder that becomes an absolute star somewhere else when they need starters. They need starters so bad. Yeah, trade Dylan Carlson for any starter, right? Anybody's better than Adam Wainwright on the IL or Jake Woodford. Why are you starting Jake Woodford? I sound like the White Sox fan. I'm not even a Cardinals fan.
They haven't called up Lee Bartol either. Is the thing. I don't think they're. I hope they stay bad. And honestly, this is a prime hold that moment for me. And Wilson Contreras not helping their rotation at all with his receiving. Yeah, they're bad. Their lineup is not really doing it. Their starting rotation is one of the worst in baseball right now. And their farm system is not good. So that's really cool.
I'm really happy for you, Davis.
Oh yeah. I have like a shrine or I have a shrine to the Cubs and then right next to it my bedroom is a voodoo doll, and it's just got the St. Louis Cardinal bird on it, and I poke it every
Nice.
night. And every
One of
night,
those
and
for the Dodgers. Put it
yeah,
in the toilet every time I poop.
yeah, every night, I poke the needles into it, and it's hooking me up.
It's working.
They've got 2 guys in there. They have 3 guys that they could put in their rotation that are in their top 10 in the farm system. They're all in AAA, and they won't call up a single one.
Nice. No, they want last place, baby. They're trying to get
Michael McGreevy through 4 starts, 24 innings in 24 and 2/3 innings in AAA, has a 2 ERA and 21 strikeouts.
Not ready.
3 walks.
Not ready.
Yeah, Gordon Grisefo's getting lit up, but still, he's got to be better than the bums they're trotting out there. To be fair, Matt Liberatore stinks. So, well, he's got a 2 ERA.
Yeah,
he's walked
good.
12
You love
guys,
saying
so
he stinks.
he does stink. He's
all right. Let's wrap it up.
Yeah, but anyway, and then the NL West is headlined by the Arizona Diamondbacks and Zach Gallen, currently tied with the Los Angeles Dodgers, both 16 and 13. And then our sweet baby boys, the Colorado Rockies, are the worst team in the NL.
Yeah, what's better than that? That's more than I could have wished for.
9-20, worst team in the NL.
Like maybe we can fit if everybody plays at their best, we can maybe play 500 ball this year. I'm just like, that's our boys.
God, yeah, Rockies are terrible. Have to throw that little dig in there.
Yeah.
Diamondbacks though, really cool to see
Surprising.
them doing well. Padres are surging though; they are 7-3 in their last 10.
I'd love the Dodgers to do a little worse, please.
That would be cool. I would like the Diamondbacks to win. They're just exciting. It'd be nice to see something go well for them. And the last thing that we were going to do before we kind of wrap this up, we have the April All-Stars to talk about. But we are also going to try to make our best predictions at Player of the Month, Pitcher of the Month, Rookie of the Month, and Closer of the Month.
Cool. Yeah, they do it for AL, NL, but we can go through this without sort of giving any reason, just like say who our guy is. So who you got for AL Player of the Month?
Matt Chapman.
Matt Chapman. Yeah, I think that's a good call. NL?
Let's go Muncy, but I really want to say Bellinger.
I want to say Ronald. And I'm going to say Ronald.
Ronald's definitely a good shout. NL. Let's be weird. No, I take it back. Yeah, I'll still go with Muncy.
Sure. How about Pitcher of the Month in the AL?
In the AL, Pitcher of the Month.
I think it's hard not to go with Sonny Gray.
Yeah, I think I would go with Sonny Gray or Joe Ryan, to be honest.
What about in the NL?
Gallen.
Yeah, I
AL Pitcher of the Month, I'm going to go Gausman.
Yeah, it's a good call. He's a big strikeout guy. He just doesn't have the same ERA numbers as he's like a run and a half ahead of Gray, which I'm sure they're looking pretty intently on that.
That's from one start where he got kind of knocked around by the Astros. Every other start he's been nails. So I mean, I'll go with Gausman.
Yeah. All right. Well, what about Rookie of the Month in the American League?
American League Rookie of the Month. Let's go Josh Lowe. He's still rookie eligible. Let's go Josh Lowe for Tampa Bay Rays.
I am trying to pull up rookie stats, but
I can't even pull up the April All-Stars thing.
Really?
Yeah, I'm just struggling. I'm Googling
it. Yeah, I don't know. I'll go with Masataka, my guy.
Yeah, Macho Man. He's heated up pretty good.
I love him. He's great. Yeah, I'll go with him. And then National League, who do you got? I think that one's pretty clear.
National League Rookie of the Month?
Yeah. I think there's an argument for Jordan Walker to get it, but I think it's Corbin Carroll. He's just been actually, James Outman's been pretty great too. That one's
I'll go with
hard to
Outman.
pick.
I'll go with Outman because I know you're not going to pick Outman.
I'll go with Jordan Walker then because I know you're not going to pick him.
Fair enough.
All right, Closer of the Month, American League.
Romano.
Yeah, you think so? Just because of the saves?
Well, he's getting saves, and then he's getting more strikeouts
I think that's
than
fair.
Colase, so I'll go Ramon.
What about NL?
But Dave Bednar.
Yes. Same page.
It's
Answer
Hater.
supreme.
It's Hater, but I kind of really want to go Bednar.
No. It's Bednar.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's go with.
Oh, it's hard to argue with a 0.69 ERA and a 0.69 WHIP from Hater though, and leading the league in saves. Dang.
Yeah, I gotta go Hater.
All right, let's run through these all-stars and get going.
Yeah. Since I can't pull up the article, let's have you
try on your phone.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea, isn't it?
But yeah, I can get it started.
Yeah, go ahead and get it started.
Sure.
I'll pull it up on my phone.
So MLB.com did a sort of all-star team for April. I think they did this last year, but we usually go through with just their players of the month, but we didn't have that. So just a little extra to talk about. We'll start off with catchers, as always. The American League had Adley Rutschman. He had 17 RBIs and an 841 OPS, and the National League had Sean Murphy with 6 dingers and a 973 OPS. I don't know if we're going to be able to give arguments about these, but yeah, I think pretty good calls. Adley's been great, and Sean Murphy about as what we expected going from a terrible team to a good team.
Yeah. Real Muto's been sort of slow to start the year, so I think I would go with Murphy in the NL.
Yeah, and then first base, we've got American League Yandy Diaz. He's hit 7 dingers with a 994 OPS, and then Pete Alonso in the National League, 10 homers and 25 RBI. Honestly, crazy what Yandy's doing. He had 9 home runs last year. He's at 7 now. This has always been a guy, launch angle guy. He's got great, incredible plate discipline, great at making contact, good average. And all that's been missing is the home runs with those big biceps. I think this is the year Yandy breaks out 20 plus home runs.
That would be sick.
One of the best hitters in baseball this year.
That would be sick. No arguments from me here. I still think Pete Alonso is an outside case to be NL MVP. I did that in our Way Too Early predictions article, and I'm going to stick by that choice. Sure. As long as Pete Alonso continues this pace, and he's just I know Aaron Judge is Aaron Judge, but since both of them have come into the league, the most premier home run hitter in all of baseball is Pete Alonso.
Yeah. Second base, we got American League Brandon Lau. He's got 7 dingers and a 903 OPS. And then in the National League, obviously, Luis Arias with a 427 batting average. I think that's changed, but yeah, pretty clear here. Not really sure who else I'd be considering in the American League. Maybe Marcus Semien, which is pretty good with the runs, but Brandon Lau's been looking like old Brandon Lau again.
Yeah, the only other argument that I would maybe try to make would be Nico Horner for Arias, but Arias is off to such a heater that it's really difficult to be like, oh yeah, the dude that's hitting 430 or whatever. Nah, he's not as good as this other guy. Yeah, it's difficult.
At shortstop, we've got Wander Franco in the AL with an 872 OPS and 5 steals, and then Xander Bogaerts in the National League with a 409 on base and a 919 OPS. Hard to argue with those, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I think those are fair.
Wander
Franco. Yeah, Bo Bichette maybe for Wander, but I think that's the only one.
Yeah. And then we got third base. We got clearly probably the 2 easiest calls here. AL, we got Matt Chapman with a 1,111 OPS and Max Muncy with 11 homers and 1152 OPS. Pretty great. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about these guys all year. Huge April. They're going to get some dope cards in MLB The Show.
Oh yeah. Some of the I wonder which one of those two do you think is going to get the Lightning Diamond?
Lightning.
Yeah.
I don't know. A lot goes into that. A lot goes into considering who's gotten them in the past and all that kind of stuff.
I think it'd be Muncy because I don't think he's had one. And I think Matt Chapman has had one.
I don't know. Yeah. I'd be more excited for a Matt Chapman one, and not because of the Dodgers thing, but because Chapman can field.
I would like a player of the month, Cody Bellinger, because he is also, I mentioned Nico Horner on pace for 7 more. Cody Bellinger is also on pace.
Yeah. Somehow didn't get one of the 6 outfield spots, so I guess 3 in the National League. In the American League, we had Jared Kelenic with 7 homers and a 1,043 OPS, Mike Trout with a 945 OPS, and Randy Arozarena with a 940 OPS. And then in the National League, we had Brandon Marsh with 1106 OPS, Ronald Acuna Jr. with a 986 OPS and 13 steals, and James Outman with 7 homers and a 985 OPS. I mean, we talked about all these guys except for Jared Kelnick, and he's been dope. He's been so sick, and I'm so glad to see him finally get his act together because he's got tons of potential and he's finally shown it off.
Yeah, I think I'm really good with the AL. Kelnick, Trout, Rosarena. Rosarena is on my fantasy team, so I love him. Brandon Marsh, Ronald, and then I would put Cody Bellinger for James Outman. He's hit more home runs. The OPS is only off by a couple points. I would put Bellinger there for Outman, but I understand why Outman's there.
If there was a stat for weed smoked, I think Bellinger would have made it.
Bellinger also did all of that while also losing time to being on the paternity list. So he had to go home, have a baby, and get stoned, and balance that with playing baseball. So we
got to take a pause and talk about that paternity list.
So, yeah, there's been like 9 players on the paternity list.
Not even just like across MLB. The weirdest thing is that half of them were on the Dodgers.
Yeah, it was
so like weird.
Who was it? It was
Brewstar, Mookie,
Muncy. Yeah. Muncy, Brewstar. There was one other one, and then Bellinger, who's a former Dodger. Like, there was another guy. I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, it's way too many guys to be a coincidence.
Evan Phillips. They lost Evan Phillips to the.
It almost seemed like they had like a challenge or like a bet, like who could have a baby this year, and then
they must have had a big day. All of them must have had a big day 9 months ago.
All-Star. It was out of the All-Star
game. That's right.
Yeah. So they're just like taking the All-Star weekend off, just like, all right, who can make a baby? We're the baby crew. Yeah.
That's
so crazy. Yeah. So designated hitter, though. We got American League Shohei Ohtani, 6 homers, 854 OPS, and Andrew McCutchen, 877 OPS. He's been great this year, and I love to see him having a comeback now back in the black and yellow.
The Renaissance man, Andrew McCutchen. I love it for him.
Yeah.
Have you seen his StatCast sprint speed metrics?
He's still fast.
He's still insanely fast.
Yeah.
He's like this. I think he's the second fastest player on their team. That's actually playing because Oneil Cruz obviously is hurt.
Yeah.
But he's like the second fastest behind Ji-Hwan Bae.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right. Well, starting pitchers, we've got Garrett Cole in the AL. He's 5-0 with a 1.11 ERA, and Justin Steele in the National League, 4-0 with a 1.49 ERA. Very solid from both of them. We discussed both of them already.
Oh yeah. Up until the last start where he really got tagged up, I think there was a really good case from the NL side for Marcus Stroman also, because I don't think he had given up but like maybe a run the entire time. Yeah, I think I would go with Cole over any of those other guys in the AL.
And then for relief pitchers to wrap it up, close things out, I don't think these stats are completely updated, but American League, they got Felix Bautista with 6 saves, a 1.42 ERA, and 24 strikeouts. National League, David Bednar with 8 saves and 0.75 ERA. That's changed a little over the past couple of days, but good calls. I think Bautista's an underrated option. He's had a very eventful month, including that one Adam Duvall walk-off. Seems like years ago, but that was a great way to start off the season. And Yinzer Supreme, our boy.
Yeah, I love David Bednar. He is one of my absolute favorite baseball players. He's got 9 saves, so he is up to 9 saves. You talked about haters ERA. David Bednar has a 0.69 ERA.
Oh, he also?
Mm-hmm.
All right, then David Bednar back on top.
0.98 FIP.
Nice.
He has struck out. He's got 17 strikeouts to 1 walk in 13 innings.
Fire.
He's only given up 1 earned run.
Nice.
1 unearned. Yeah, David Bednar. He'll end up that's going to be my hot take for the rest of the podcast. So I think David Bednar will take over as the best relief pitcher in the NL the entire year.
Sure.
And he'll just be the best. And King Yinzer will reign supreme over all of baseball.
Yeah. Well, before we close things out, let's do a quick rundown of the memes we saw today, brought to you by Deep Fried MLB on Twitter and Instagram. We got Bob Nutting extending, is probably what he was doing before he extended Brian Reynolds, and maybe a little bit after because he saved some money. We got Ozzy Albies, Wizard of Oz, great meme. We got Andrew Vaughn as Wallace and Gromit. We've got Juan Soto bobblehead statue outside of Mexico game, and Mitch Haniger and Brandon Crawford as well.
The statues were still my favorite. I really like those. I hope they have. I want a replica of one of them in my living room.
Small one, yeah. Or big one, full size.
Yeah, big one, full size.
Your dog will bark at it all the time. There's a scary man in the house.
He probably would. But on that note, we ended the podcast talking about relievers, and I think it's perfect time to make another call to bullpen to bring in the closer.
Yeah. And today we got another exciting one. We're closing in on 50 closers to wrap up these podcasts because we've missed a couple. But today we got Kevin Gregg, who had a 13-year career from 2003 to 2015 with the Anaheim and Los Angeles Angels, the Florida Marlins, the Cubs, Blue Jays, Orioles, Miami Marlins, and the Reds. He was drafted by my A's in the 15th round of the 1996 draft and became a minor league free agent where he was signed by the Angels prior to 2003. He debuted in August of 2003 versus the Cleveland Indians, tossing 6 innings, allowing 4 hits, 1 earned, 2 walks, and 6 strikeouts. Pretty good debut as a starter, but he was a swing man across his 5 appearances in his debut season. His first full season came in 2004, and he was completely a reliever. He notched his first career save that year as well, while recording a career-high 87 2/3 innings pitched. And then he really struggled in 2005 to a 5.04 ERA before being pretty average in 2006. He started the final 3 games of his career that year. He was traded to the Florida Marlins prior to 2007, and he found something in Florida, becoming the closer for the team. That year, he tossed 84 innings with a 3.54 ERA and a career high 87 strikeouts and a career best 1.23 whip while securing 32 saves. He carried over that success into 2008 across 68 2/3 innings. He had a 3.41 ERA, which was the best of his career, and he had 29 saves as well, despite leading the league in blown saves. He was traded to Davis's Cubs prior to 2009, and he won the closer role out of camp, but lost it to Carlos Marmol by August. He had a 4.72 ERA and 23 saves in his only season in Chicago. He signed with the Blue Jays as a free agent prior to 2010 and recorded a career-high 37 saves with a 3.51 ERA, and they declined his 2 club options then, and he signed a 2-year deal with the Orioles prior to 2011, and he sort of gradually lost the closer role throughout that year. He had a 4.37 ERA and 22 saves, and then he struggled as a setup man in the second year of that contract in 2012 with a 4.95 ERA. He then signed a minor league deal with the Dodgers, but didn't make the team, and then signed another minor league deal with the Cubs to return back there, and he was named the closer right away. He actually was great that year, 3.48 ERA and 33 saves, but that'd be the last time he was any good because he wouldn't save another game as he sort of sucked across his last 2 seasons. And I don't say that lightly. 10 ERA in 9 innings with Miami Marlins in 2014 and 10.13 ERA in 10 2/3 with the Reds in 2015. And that wrapped up his career, one in which he racked up 4.6 Baseball Reference WAR across 720 and a third innings pitched with 661 strikeouts while posting a 4.24 ERA, a 1.39 whip, and 177 saves, which is tied for 69th all-time on the all-time saves leaderboard with Brian Harvey. Nice.
Kevin Gregg is part of one of my favorite things on Twitter because I see him relatively frequently. I feel like there's a page on Twitter that's Daily Random Cub, and they literally just post a random dude that played for the Cubs at one point and like a little fun fact about them. And Kevin Gregg has been on there like 4 or 5 times. He actually, from the start of 2013, which was his first year at the Cubs, to the 21st, he went 11 for 11. So he was perfect in save opportunities. And he had a 0.7 ERA, and then he blew it later and lost his job. But yeah, so after start the year sick, and then he just completely collapsed in June, lost it to Carlos Marmol. But yeah, glasses. He got in a fight with David Ortiz. You remember that?
Yep.
There you go.
Pretty sick.
It's probably what he's most famous for. But yeah, that is all we have for episode number 58 of the Free Baseball Podcast and our April month in review. I'm glad you stayed with us. If you did, it was a bit of a longer one that we've actually been going on. We've gotten better at the whole taking forever and doing like the 2-hour-long podcast, but this is a long one just because we got a lot of stuff to go over. But as always, I'm Davis Bird. You can follow me on Twitter at TVSBird, and you can follow the Athletes Hub Twitter account at Athletes Hub, since they're the sponsor of this podcast. They're the ones that we do all the stuff for. And then you can follow Jake Crumpler on Twitter, also at Jake Crumpler. It's super easy. Go follow the both of us because we talk about baseball stuff and other sports stuff and complain and are just real cool dudes.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, Jake sucks. But you can go follow him because he makes really cool stuff and he'll help you win your fantasy baseball.
Yeah, I might do that. Yeah, over on pitcherlist.com. Write some articles. Most recent one, Graham Ashcraft article. Definitely go read that one. Interesting article. And I do like a reliever ranks article. That one just came out today. So you can get the lowdown on all the relief pitcher performances from throughout the league. And then I also do a couple podcasts over there as well. The In the Pen podcast, which is all about bullpens. And the First Pitch podcast, I do the weekend editions. It's Pitcher List's daily podcast. It's like 15 to 20 minutes. So it's definitely worth the listen and it doesn't take up a lot of time.
Yep. But that's all we really have for today with our podcast. Go check out the Athletes Hub at theathleteshub.org. We make a bunch of content. It's always like weird to say like for the fans, by the fans, because that sounds like the bit from Sunny where it's like the fight milk is for bodyguards by bodyguards, and I don't really feel like that's the same thing. But
did you see that they're doing another season?
Yeah, I just assume they always are. That show will be going on longer than we're going to be.
I hope so. That would be crazy if they're all just dead.
Yeah, but Athletes Hub is great. It's more of a small time sort of fan driven website where all the articles are by real sports fans that are most of the time trying to be objective, some of the time not trying to be objective, and you can real fan opinions and thoughts from people like you would be talking to at like a sports bar instead of just like here's a digested mass media outlet. It's like real stuff from real fans, and I really enjoy that. I like reading all of our stuff, and I really mean that. There's some good stuff on the website. We obviously do the podcast. There's a Deep Takes from 3 podcast, which I'm not sure if they're going to be picking up stuff for the playoffs. I imagine they probably would at some point.
Yeah.
And then there's more stuff that will be coming and going on with the website. So check back in with them. Follow them on the Twitter account at Athletes Hub. That's all we have for the day. Peace.